you're coming from part of Japan, England, Ireland. Did I miss something? And you're teaching and working in Denmark, in Copenhagen and in London. And how did you realize that this open field is going on? And what was the intention just to apply?
How did we realize? I think just by Googling for looking for new projects. But I guess because of the topic of it being about art and agriculture, this is sort of a field that we've worked in before and that we are really genuinely interested in kind of bringing sort of installations and public engagement projects into agricultural space. We've done projects where we've worked with a farmer before and found this to be like very, very encouraging and very fruitful. And it's a process where we also engage a lot ourselves and learn a lot from. And I think that kind of helps us develop our creative practice at the same time.
You're also working with time and the different meanings of time, or what does this mean to you and your work?
Well, we've been here for 2 weeks, and that's like the most immediate time period that we've been working with, of coming here with a vague idea of what we were going to do, meeting Lucas, meeting the farm, seeing the hill, and then coming up with a way to make a public space. Then within those 2 weeks, we've had a lot of other conversations about time in terms of what the age of this place is, the age of this farm, the history of the area, the agricultural processes that Lucas is working with winemaking, and really the material, the different ways of engaging with the material of the clay of the hill itself. So yeah, there's been kind of short cycles that we've been working with, as well as kind of bigger, deep time thinking. And then the sun has been giving us daily routine. We've been trying to fill as many hours of activity as we can that the sun will allow, apart from the last 2 days where we realized that Lucas had a light. He has everything, so.
In my business, in wine growing, you have to think a long way forward, because if we put up a new vineyard, it should last for at least 30, 40 years. And we plant the vines, we have the sticks and the steel ropes and the whole construction with the vines, and it should last very long, of course. And one thing that would destroy my work is movement of the earth. And yeah, that's how it works. If it rains, the water sinks into the soil and it goes as deep as it can go. And if there is like one layer, like for example, on this hill, we have this opoc layer all around, and it stops the water and it makes the earth move.
Ich habe Sie nur gefragt, eben, warum Sie sich dann entschieden haben, dazu das doch viel tiefer in die Erde einzuschreiben. Ihre Arbeit ursprünglich auf der Zeichnung, so wie Sie sie auf der Einladung auch sehen, war es einen halben Meter tief angedacht. Und das hat ja mit Sicherheit einen Grund.
I think we imagined that we were coming to a flat plain land of a piece of farm to work. Lucas suggested that we work here. Yeah, that kind of threw everything out the window, and we had to imagine something that worked with the actual slope of the landscape. And so the reason that I guess we ended up with 4 meters is because we wanted to cut into the land to make it flat, so that you can have this open public space in the middle. And in order to do that, by going horizontal into this steep vertical, it kind of creates this very dramatic 4-meter wall.
Also ich frage jetzt nur, wie das mit der Bank ist. Das ist von einem Transitort, einem Durchgangsort, die uns eben nicht die Postkartenansicht zeigt, wie in die Südsteiermark, sondern ganz im Gegenteil zurückreflektiert auf die Wand. auch in die Höhe und ob das dann eventuell so sein könnte, dass man das auch wahrnimmt, dass wir als Menschen ja auch uns gewahr sein können, dass wir auch nur ein kleiner Teil von dem sind, was die Gesamtheit ist.
In terms of movement, the bench represents the stationary. We, in some ways, speculate on the future, reflecting on the past, and that is the present. The journey towards the bench, and then sitting on the bench, that's a point of reflection, where you can think of where you've come from, where you're going, and what you're seeing. And to go back to this idea of time, you're inserting yourself into a geological time that is far bigger than we can comprehend. And that is something that the seat allows you to do. Or anything else that you want to sit without a view that is as extensive as that, which is predominantly what you think of when you think of beautiful nature and landscape. We think of the image. So that's why the bench was so important. But in terms of this kind of bench in this space, it's a trigger. That's sort of the idea. It's like something that you associate with public space. You look at that bench and you think of civic space, and civic space is really in question. And civic space is fundamentally or theoretically the democratic space. And we see so much space now which is pseudo-public. It looks public, but it's not actually public. So public and power, ownership, these have aesthetic associations. But at the end of the day, it's just a bench to sit on as well.
Suddenly, you have a public space in your private space, or what is it, or how do you think it is?
It is another very unique way to attract people to this beautiful place. And usually they come here and drink and eat, and now they can maybe even have some great thoughts in their heads when they walk down there. And so it's definitely an enrichment for me from maybe from the business side, but also from the idea of maybe something grows in the mind of other people. And yeah, so I don't have a problem with public space on my private land.